I'm Elaine Viets. You've heard of mangoes, passion fruit, and pomegranates, but what about the chocolate pudding fruit? Chocolate pudding really does grow on trees. Jeannie Fernsworth with the Palm Beach Rare Fruit Council will tell us about it on today's Dead End Job Show. I'm Elaine Viets, and we're talking to Jeannie Fernsworth with the Palm Beach Rare Fruit Council on today's Dead End Job Show. Okay, Jeannie, we all know that chocolate is a vegetable. So what about chocolate pudding fruit? Have you actually had it?
Oh, yes. Chocolate pudding fruit is a delicious fruit. It's actually in the persimmon family. It's a beautiful tree with glossy green leaves, and its actual name is black sapote. When you open up the fruit, it looks like chocolate pudding inside. I wouldn't necessarily say that it tastes exactly like chocolate pudding. It has the consistency of chocolate mousse or pudding. And what we do at Rare Fruit Council is we actually use the liquid as the liquid in a brownie mix. And it makes the brownies chocolatier and fruitier, and so it's a delicious way to use it. The only caution I would have with the chocolate pudding fruit is if you're going to grow that tree, don't grow it by your driveway because those fruits plop and splat when they fall.
Chocolate pudding all over your car? Does chocolate pudding fruit, does it have seeds?
I'm sorry, is it what?
Does it have seeds in it?
It does, and actually it's fairly easy to grow from seed. A lot of trees don't come true from seed, and you have to graft them, but with a chocolate pudding fruit, you could actually take those seeds, which are, kind of big brown seeds, and you could grow them, and probably within 5 years you would have a nice crop of chocolate pudding fruits.
What's it look like on the outside? Is it as big as a coconut? Is it green? Is it?
It is green on the outside. If you've ever seen a persimmon, it looks like that. So it is green. You have to wait until it's kind of soft before you actually open it up. And the inside really looks like chocolate mousse. People are amazed. You can actually take the fruit and pull out the seeds and put it in a parfait glass and put a little whipped cream on top of it. And that's also a lovely way to serve it. It's sweet and pudding-like and kind of fruity, mildly chocolatey.
How did you get interested in tropical fruit?
Well, I have been a horticulturist all my life. I went through the New York Botanical Garden School of Horticulture. And even in New York, we used to have tropical fruit festivals because we were always longing and yearning for, the warmth of tropics. So that was always a popular festival that we would put on. And oddly enough, I went through a box of treasures that I had as a child. And, there were letters and, pictures of me in a tutu and, all the little treasures that you throw in a box and keep. And when I went through that box, oddly enough, I found a mango seed. And I must have eaten a mango and just gone, wow, this is a treasure. And taken the seed and carefully put it in this box of goodies. Seems odd to me now that I would consider that such a treasure, but obviously that seed got into my psyche and grew.
So tell us I've seen pictures of this. I find it hard to believe. It's called the peanut butter fruit.
Yes, a peanut butter fruit is from Central America. It's a little red fruit. It's probably about the size of a small plum, and it tastes like peanut butter. And it doesn't last very long. It's kind of a soft fruit. It has a big seed inside of it. So you don't see it in the marketplace. The only place to grow it would be in your yard. It's actually a beautiful little tree. It has beautiful green foliage, and it's a nice ornamental with its little red fruits on it. The birds actually love it. And for people who are allergic to peanut butter, you can eat this because it's not related to the actual plant peanuts, and but you can get the flavor. A lot of times, flavors will show up in other parts of the world and manifest themselves in other forms. So just because it has the flavor of peanut doesn't mean that it is a peanut.
So this is how to get your peanut fix if you're actually allergic to ground nuts.
Exactly.
Now something...
And that also is another one that's easy to grow from seed.
Ah. Now tell us, you were mentioning something that I find bizarre, the egg fruit.
Egg fruit. Egg fruit is in season now, which would be February and March. Its real name is canistel, and it has a fruit that it's kind of a bright orangey color, and it's round and fleshy with a little drip point at the bottom. And in fact, it looks like a Russian dome on one of the Russian churches. And so when it hangs on the tree, it looks like Christmas ornaments. It's just fabulous looking. And it has a very thin skin, so when it's ripe, you kind of peel off that skin. And inside the flesh is the texture and the color of a hard-boiled egg yolk, which is why it's called egg fruit. It's a little dry, like an egg yolk can be. It tastes like a baked sweet potato. It's sweet and creamy. So delicious. What I like to do with it is take the fruit, and you can buy the phyllo dough little pockets. They're in the freezer section, and they use them for tapas or for hors d'oeuvres. And I put some of the egg fruit in there, and then I put a toasted pecan on top and drizzle a little honey. And I'll make like 100 of those and take them to an event, and people just gobble them up. 10 minutes later, they're all gone. They're just delicious.
So tell me about another one that sounds interesting, the ice cream bean.
Yes, ice cream bean is also in fruit now, which would be February and March. It's an inula. That's the name of it. It's a very tall tree, grows very quickly. You can also grow that from seed. It has long beans on it, and by long I mean about a 1.5 foot long. And when you open the bean, like you would open a green bean, you'll find inside it is this stuff that looks like white cotton candy. And in fact, it tastes like white cotton candy, which is why it's called the ice cream bean. You can actually even take that and make ice cream out of it as well if you'd like. In fact, all of these fruits make terrific ice cream. The egg fruit, the chocolate pudding fruit, they all make, peanut butter fruit, they all make terrific ice cream.
Now, we Americans like to see ourselves as foodies trying out exotic dishes from around the world. Do we really like tropical fruit?
Yes. It's really been the influence of immigrants in some tropical countries that have popularized these fruits. I know that when I go to Publix, I don't always see these fruits, but if I go to Latin markets, I find them in abundance. And so that's really been a great benefit for foodies, is to be introduced to these fruits and to find out how to eat them and present them in ways that are palatable to American palates, which they're a little unusual. So sometimes people find them interesting, but don't quite know what to do with them when they're presented with them in their raw state.
I've tried star fruit, and I got it at the supermarket. Maybe that was a mistake, but I was really underwhelmed. It just didn't seem interesting.
Star fruit, when you buy it at the supermarket, you're getting varieties that they pick that are green before so that they can pack them. I'm not a big fan of the star fruits that you buy at Publix or at supermarkets. The star fruit that you get from people's yards are much more delicious varieties. The other thing that I do with star fruit is I I dehydrate it. And when I dehydrate it, I get these little tiny star things that just pop into your mouth, and they're full of flavor and taste a little bit like an apricot, actually, and they're chewy like an apricot. One caution I would have with star fruit is and this doesn't really affect you if you're buying one or two from the market, but if you have a fruit tree and you're eating maybe 40, 50 pounds of star fruit, then you want to make sure that you cut off the edges of the star. You can still keep the star shape, but just the edge, because the edge has an accumulation of oxalic acid, and if you eat too much oxalic acid, you can get kidney stones. Ooh. So it's just a matter of knowing how to prepare it. Star fruit in Central America is used as a drink. They take it and juice it. And it is very juicy and sweet, and can be combined with other fruits as well.
Now, there's something that I saw on the Fruit Council website, which is called the Cecropia, and it looks creepy.
Cecropia is has kind of long bean-like fruits, and it's sweet. It's not one that, again, this is one that you have to know how to eat it and when to eat it, because when you actually see it, it's kind of unpalatable looking or kind of ugly, these long kind of warty beans. But it's very sweet, and it can even be used in a dehydrated form and a powdered form as a sweetener.
Well, it goes by the name snake fingers, and when I saw the picture, I thought it takes a really brave person to bite into that.
Exactly. Well, one of the things that we do at the Palm Beach Rare Fruit Council is we have a meeting once a month, and one of the components of the meeting is a tasting table. And usually that table is groaning with fruit. We have huge piles of tropical fruit, so it's a great opportunity to taste things. In fact, the Rare Fruit Council is compiling a cookbook so that people will know how to prepare these things. And so it's really a great opportunity. It's one of the benefits of the Rare Fruit Council. In fact, the Rare Fruit Council, I would say, we meet once a month. We meet on the second Friday of each month, and we meet at Mount's Botanic Garden in West Palm Beach. The Rare Fruit Council, since I've known it as an organization, and I've been a member for almost 20 years, I would say that when I first moved here, there were maybe 100 members, and now if you look on a website, there are over 800 members, or 800 people who've liked our site. I'd say the active in membership who've paid their dues, it's probably about 350 people. So it's a very active group. It's very diverse in population. There are Indians, people from Belize, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. It's, old American farmers who've been growing these fruits in Palm Beach County for over 50 years. So it's a very diverse and very friendly group. They are always happy to have new members and share what they know.
Well, for my mother, oranges were very special because when she was growing up, oranges were expensive, and so oranges to her always meant Christmas. You mentioned that some of the island people have an attitude towards some of these tropical fruits. Can you tell us about that?
Well, oranges, the reason oranges were always associated with Christmas is, one, they do fruit in December, but also I am of Scottish origin, and one of our traditions was that we always got an orange in our stocking at Christmas, and that's still true in Scotland, and that's because it's considered a very exotic treasure, and so it's something that you would get as Christmas on Christmas. And I would also say that orange industry in Florida is changing. There's so many diseases that have come in associated with the citrus industry, and the citrus industry is in real trouble. And in fact, so much trouble that a lot of citrus groves are going dormant, and these tropical fruits are moving in to replace the fruit industry in Florida, and that's in great part due to the island people who've moved here and who know these fruits and know how to grow them. So, for example, one of the fruits that I think you're going to see more of in Florida are tropical peaches. Peaches normally require a chill period in order to grow and set fruit, but there are some tropical varieties of peach that come in a little bit before Georgia peaches. They're a little bit smaller than Georgia peaches. They have a little fuzz on the outside, which protects them from insects, actually, and they're very, very sweet. And you're going to see that Florida may even turn into the peach state instead of being the orange state.
Tell us about a rare fruit called blackberry jam. I mean, that's the name of the fruit.
Yes, it is. Now, blackberry jam is not a fruit that you're going to get in the marketplace. It's a small fruit. It's about as big as, your thumb. When you open it up, it actually looks like blackberry jam, and it has a mild taste of blackberries as well. As I mentioned earlier, plants like a blackberry doesn't have a patent on the flavor of blackberry. It shows up in other fruits, and certainly blackberry jam fruit it shows up in. It's very popular with birds, and so it's not one that keeps very well, so you're not going to see it grown commercially. That would be a fruit that you would have to grow in your backyard. Another fruit that actually has a blackberry-like flavor are mulberries. And mulberries are a native fruit. They're native from Florida all the way to upstate New York. Again, this is not a fruit tree that you want to plant by where you park your car because it'll drop mulberry fruits, which have a really violet color to them, and it will stain anything that is around. In fact, I know a mulberry farmer who actually dyed his T-shirt and his a pair of pants that he had with mulberry, so that when he goes out into the field, he's not spotted with mulberry juice. He is mulberry juice.
What about banana? I see banana listed. Are we talking about the big white grocery store bananas, or are there other types of bananas?
Oh, there's so many varieties of bananas, and when you grow plants, there are little recipes for growing fruits. And one of the things I can tell you about growing bananas is that bananas like to grow in really rich soil. There's so many varieties. There are red varieties that come from Hawaii, which are very tall fruits. There are plantains, which are have more mealy as a texture, and Latins like to fry them or even make plantain chips with them. They're not quite as sweet as a regular banana. The regular banana that you would find at Publix or a Chiquita banana was originally a banana that they fed the pigs. It just transports quite well, so it's one that we've come to know as a banana. But, oh, gosh, there's so many varieties that are so much sweeter and more delicious than that one. There are ones that are called praying hands that they grow on a you call them actually a hand of bananas. We call them bunches of bananas, but when they grow off of a banana plant, you get lots of bunches growing, and so you call that a hand of bananas. And they kind of close. They look like hands put together in prayer. There are one called 1,000 bananas, and they're little tiny ones. They almost look like berries, and you get like lots of them on a hand of bananas. And in a bunch, you might get like 50 of these little ones. You get the red bananas, which come from Hawaii, which are so sweet and delicious. And when I mentioned having a recipe to grow a plant, It's that plants need so much sunlight, so much water, so much fertilizer. Bananas we've come to know as being a good source of potassium, and that means that you have to have a lot of potassium in the soil so that those plants can take up potassium and have it in their fruit, so that when we eat it, we also get potassium. So that's what I mean by having a little recipe, is knowing when to give your banana plant potassium so that you get the maximum amount of potassium in your fruit. And one way that you would know that is if you're growing a banana plant, if you count the leaves and know that there are between 5 and 7 leaves that are on the banana plant, that's when you want to give your plant potassium, because the banana is growing inside the plant at that point. And if you give your plant potassium at that point, then you'll get the maximum amount of potassium in your fruit when it pops out.
Now, this is, you're obviously with the Palm Beach Rare Fruit Council. What if you live elsewhere in the United States, someplace cold, and you still
someplace
want Palm
cold?
Beach? Mm-hmm.
Well, now I know that Broward County also has a Palm Beach a Rare Fruit Council. So here in this part of South Florida, and there's also one in Dade. There's a very active one in Homestead, and of course there's a Fruit and Spice Park in Homestead. So there's lots of sources for information. We've noticed that on our website for the Palm Beach Rare Fruits, it's pbrareFruitCouncil.org. So on our website, we get hits from Australia and places all over the world. So, there's certainly a web of people who like growing these tropical fruits. Now, if you live someplace cold, you would have to grow these fruits in a protected greenhouse. I know that when I was at the New York Botanical Garden, we grew them under glass, and they do like humidity, they like warmth, and of course sunlight is a factor as well. And so here in the tropics we get more sun, so you don't get quite as much sun up north. So even though you could provide the humidity and the warmth, sometimes they don't do quite as well under glass because you're not getting as much sunlight unless you artificially provide that.
Now, very quickly, tell us about a couple of your favorite rare tropical fruits that we haven't discussed yet.
Oh, gosh. Well, currently in fruit right now is a passion fruit, and it grows on a vine. I have yellow passion fruits, and honestly, I'm getting like a bushel off of a vine, and they just are delicious. They're tangy and sweet. For people who aren't familiar with them, they're one of the flavors in Hawaiian punch, which we drank as a child. So when you taste it, you go, oh, yeah, I recognize that flavor from Hawaiian punch. So that's one. That's one of my favorites. I would also say a jackfruit. A jackfruit is easy to grow from seeds. The fruits themselves they're in the mulberry family, but they're not tiny like a mulberry. They can grow to be 50, 125 pounds. And the fruit hangs right off of the stem, right off of the trunk. So they're really quite a conversation piece when you see them. When you cut into them, there's actually kind of a latex-like sap that's right along the edge of the kind of spiny outer portion of it. So if you oil your knife, you're able to cut right into it. The fruit itself tastes it's kind of slippery in texture, like you would describe a mango as slippery in texture, and yet the fruit itself tastes a little bit like a combination of mango and banana. In fact, it is the inspiration for the flavor in juicy fruit gum.
I'll be darned. Now, very quickly, we've got about 2 minutes left. Tell us again about the Palm Beach Rare Fruit Council, what you have coming up.
Well, the Palm Beach Rare Fruit Council meets on the second Friday of each month at Mounts Botanic Garden. And we do a number of things. I know that for Valentine's Day, we're going to have Chris Rollins from the Fruit and Spice Park talk about the fruits of love. And when we also have a plant sale, we'll have a plant sale on March 29th. That'll be held at the South Florida Fairgrounds, which is on Southern Boulevard in Palm Beach County. And we'll have over 50 vendors there. We'll be selling tropical fruit trees and tropical fruits, and we'll have samples for people to try. And we also produce an event on June 28th that's held at Mounts Botanic Garden. It's called Taste of the Tropics, and we have over 500 samples of fruits for people to try. So that's a very popular event. People line up for that one. And we also have field trips. So we sometimes rent a bus and go to the west coast of Florida. Like on March 15th, we'll be going to Echo, which is a tropical farm near Tampa. But we also have something called Zip Trips. So each month on the Saturday following the meeting, we'll have just a small trip to somebody's farm or even to somebody's backyard to see what fruit trees they're growing and how they're growing them.
All right, let's end with your website again.
It is tdrarefruitcouncil.org.
And that's P as in Palm Beach, right?
That's right.
All right. Thank you again, Jeannie Fernsworth with the Palm Beach Rare Fruit Council. I'm Elaine Viets, and you're listening to the Dead End Job Show.